Hello, and welcome to another video in Team Ultra 10539's FTC video series. Today we'll begin the CAD portion of the video series by discussing the basics of Autodesk Fusion 360, which you can see right here. By the end of this CAD section of this video series, you should be able to create robots in your CAD that look something like this. With that said, many people will probably ask me, well, why choose Autodesk Fusion 360? There are so many great CAD programs out there, and why can't I choose something else? Well, you can choose something else, but our team in particular likes this particular software for many reasons. One, it's very easy to use. Two, it has a lot of powerful features. Three, it has a cloud sync feature, so you're able to work on it at the same time. So multiple team members can be working on one design at the same time. It's kind of like Google Docs. And finally, it's free for students. So all you really need to do is you sign up on Autodesk's website, offer proof that you are a student at a certain school, and they will give you this software for free. So it's a really great resource to have. And I'll link the website in the description below so that you can check it out if you're interested. So assuming that you've already figured out how to get the software and have it downloaded, once you have signed into the software, you'll be greeted with a screen that looks something like this. You probably won't have all these projects on the side, but you'll see a little thing that says all projects, and you'll see sort of a blank screen with an untitled at the top. So from this point on, I would highly recommend using a mouse. It will make a big difference, make it a lot easier to do CAD. Doing CAD on a trackpad is possible, it's just much more difficult. So if you have a mouse, great, it'll help you out a lot. Looking at Fusion 360, you have on this side, you have this sort of blank space. This is actually where you'll create your design. And on the left side here, you have all these projects. First things first, the first thing you should do is you should open your projects tab. So maybe you might see something like this, and you just want to click this thing that says show data panel up here. It's these 9 boxes. And then scroll down to the bottom and open something that says design samples. And then open one of these designs. I'll open the lamp, for example. And so the first thing that we should do is we should take a look at how to navigate the Fusion 360 environment. So first thing you want to know is probably clicking on things. So clicking on things with left click just highlights that specific face that you have highlighted. Right-clicking objects sort of opens this right-click menu, which is, we'll talk about how to use this in a future video, but it's not all that useful for now. So you can just press escape to exit the right-click menu. And sort of you can scroll to zoom in and out. And if you have a mouse, you can press down on the middle mouse button, sort of pan the camera. If you're using a trackpad, all these tools are also available down here at the bottom. And then also to rotate the design, you can drag this cube around, or you can just select one of the faces. So if I want to look at it from the top directly down, I can just click the top. If I want to look at this from this corner, but I can just drag the cube around as well to get the exact orientation that I want to look at the design from. All right. So at this point, if you want to pause the video, I encourage you to sort of play around with the controls a bit, try to understand how to navigate Fusion 360 so that when we get to the next part, it'll be a little bit easier for you. All right. Once you feel comfortable with the controls, we're going to try creating a simple object. So the first thing we need to do is need to create a new design. So how we're going to do that is we're going to press this little plus up here that will allow us to create a new design. And so let's start out pretty simple. Let's start by creating a cube. So the way Fusion 360 works is it's based on the principle of starting in a 2D environment and then moving into a 3D environment. So the way the Fusion 360 handles this is by using a thing called a sketch. And so in order to create a sketch, which is a 2D sort of drawing, we press the little create sketch button up here. So make sure you have the design menu selected and the solid tab is selected. And then what you want to do is you want to click the button that says create sketch. Now you get this thing that pops up in the middle of your screen. And what this allows you to do is select which face of the coordinate plane you want to draw your sketch on. So you can select either the ground, the left side, or the right side. And so I'm just going to pick the ground in this case because I want to look straight down. So now the camera reorients itself. So now I'm looking straight down at the ground. And what I can do from this point is I can draw a rectangle on the ground, or a square, I guess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the 2-point rectangle tool, which I've already done. And you can see here now I have this sort of rectangle thing that I can sort of drag around. It has these 2 units. So the first thing I want to do is I'm in order to create a perfect cube, I'm going to say I want a 10-centimeter cube. So I'll type in 100 in here because millimeters to centimeters conversion is just divided by 100. And then if I want to get to the other box, I can't click on it, right? So what I need to do is I need to press Tab on my keyboard, which allows me to highlight the other box, and then I just also type in 100 over there. And once you have both of those at 100, you just press the Enter key, and now you have a square. Now, square on in and of itself is not all that useful. It's still a 2D object. As you can see, it's still pretty flat. So in order to make this a 3D object, all we have to do is use the button that says Finish Sketch over here. And then we can use the Extrude Tool, which you can just click on here, or you can press E on your keyboard, whichever you prefer. And then you can type in how large you want the object to be extruded. So in this case, I'm just going to type in 100 to make a perfect 10-centimeter cube. So now I have a perfect 10-centimeter cube. I'll recenter the camera. And now you'll notice that we have a perfect cube. So let's say that now I wanted to sort of create to change this cube around a bit. Maybe I wanted to turn it into a rectangle or change its shape a little bit. Well, the way I can do that is I can create another sketch. But now notice how I can also click on not only just the planes here, but I can also click on the faces of the box. So for example, I can click on the top face of the box, the left face, any face of it. So I'm going to try to do this on the top face of the cube. So to start off with, I'm going to try adding another rectangle on top of this box. So for example, if I wanted to add another rectangle here, maybe I could make it a rectangle like this that expands about half the size of the box. And then I can also, again, pressing E on my keyboard, and then extrude this box in order to make it look sort of like steps almost. So again, that was just, I created a sketch on top of the box, used the 2-point rectangle tool to create a rectangle on top of the cube, and then used the extrude tool by pressing E on my keyboard, or by clicking the tool directly. I clicked on the face that I want to extrude, and then I just typed in 40. And now I have sort of a steps looking thing. Now this is all great, but now, for example, let's say I wanted to cut up this steps looking thing into maybe 2 pieces, or maybe I want to sort of make it a little bit smaller. Well, the way I would do that is I could create another sketch on the side here, for example. Let's see, it looks a little bit too tall for steps, don't you think? So we could add another rectangle on the bottom here, and we could cut off the bottom of the steps like this. Again, so what I did there was I just created a sketch on the side here of the steps, and then created another 2-point rectangle, sort of made it 75 by 100 millimeters. Then again, press the E key on my keyboard, and then I can extrude it in the opposite direction. So I could extrude it this way, which would make it larger, but I can also extrude it into things, which means that instead of extruding, it actually cuts something. You'll notice the operation over here changes to cut, and it turns red, which means that this area is now going to be removed. So if I press OK now I'm left with just steps without the bottom that I had before. So now let's say I want to create a cylinder, for example, a round object. Well, I can just repeat the exact same process. I can create a sketch on the ground again. I can use the circle tool to create a circle of maybe 80 millimeters. Then I can extrude the cylinder again, another 80 millimeters, for example. And then now that I have a cylinder here, well, this isn't all that useful. Let's say I wanted to turn this into maybe a pipe or something. Well, then what I can do is I can create a sketch on top of the cylinder, create another circle on top of it that's smaller than the original. Then I can extrude this circle to make it cut through the original. And now I'm left with a piece of a pipe that now has the center hollowed out. So everything in Fusion 360, as you've seen, is based on the principle of 2D objects being used to create 3D objects. So finally, the last thing I would want to add is, let's say I wanted to cut these steps diagonally. So if I wanted to do that, then what I could do is create a sketch on the top of the steps, and then create a line that cuts through the steps sort of like this. The line tool basically allows you to draw a line through anything. and I can create a diagonal line like this. And then I can use that exact same thing to sort of, I can use this diagonal line to cut my steps in half. But now you'll notice that I can't select this area over here because it's not actually highlighted at all. So the way that we fix this problem is by creating another line that connects this point to here. And now I have a 2D object that I can actually select. So if you have just a line, it doesn't really know where you want that line to end. So therefore, you have to always add extra line segments to ensure that the Fusion 360 knows how big the object is that or how big the face is that you're trying to create. So now I can select both of these things, and I can extrude them again in the negative direction, and I can cut through the steps, and I'm left with a diagonal set of steps, which isn't that useful, but looks interesting. This kind of cutting works with all kinds of shapes, and I encourage you to play around with all the tools that are up here in the Create tool and in the Sketch tool. There are many different kinds of shapes you can work with. So all of these here, you can create ellipses, polygons, all kinds of arcs, and I encourage you to do that before moving on to the next tutorial. This will make it easier for you to understand the tools that are used to create more complex designs. I hope this tutorial helped you understand the basics of Fusion 360. And again, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below or reach out to us directly at ultra@browning.edu. Thank you so much for watching.